movements when we move over ductal arch. This is still aortic arch, right? So we can see our branches here. We have our head and neck vessels here coming off. So this is still our aortic arch. So then we take it to the ductal arch, right? So this is a really, really, really small movement between the aortic arch and the ductal arch. So just ever so slightly kind of shifting towards that left side of the heart, right? Because here, even though the aorta comes out of the left side of the heart, that ductal arch is slightly more over to the left. And so, we're still able to see the descending aorta. We have the aortic root that's kind of showing here, right? So this is, if you imagine underneath here, this is the aortic valve, right? So with the aortic valve coming under, that aortic root kind of comes down in here. So we do catch a piece of it there. We're also going to catch a piece of that left atrium back behind here. So imagine this left atrium doesn't end here. It does go underneath there. So we would catch a piece of that left atrium as well. And then we're getting that right ventricle through the pulmonic valve, right? Into the main pulmonary artery. So here's that pulmonic valve there. We get a piece of that main pulmonary artery, and then we're in that ductus arteriosus, which is right here. So we're catching that piece, and then we get that rest of that descending aorta, right? And so this is where we get what we call that hockey stick appearance, because it's not that candy cane that we had when we looked at the aorta. So if we go backwards to our aorta, it's very distinct candy cane. And the biggest thing to look for, again, is those head and neck vessels. And they may be different depending on what anatomy is happening and if there's any congenital heart defects going on. These might be a little varied, right? But this is where, this is having head and neck vessels there is really going to set that apart from this view. And so that helps us to understand the difference between the two. So, the ductus arteriosus is also wider than the aortic arch, right? So if you, again, go back and kind of do that comparison, this is a little bit more narrow here, where the ductus arteriosus, it widens up a little bit. So it does have a different, distinct look to it as well. And we should be having right to left flow here, right? So right side to left side, because it's flowing from the ductus arteriosus into the descending aorta. So then, when we take that kind of to look at the actual exam, right? So we can kind of see here, we have that pulmonic valve, right? We have that ductus arteriosus connecting into the descending aorta.